All right, so Browns camp's over, preseason's over, all of this stuff is pretty much done with, and now we're into the regular season grind, and we already have a Baker Mayfield quote that people are talking about. So season started already, but I want to bring in somebody who covers the Browns, is there pretty much every day at camp. Cam, how you doing today?
Doing good. Just got home from practice. It was a lot fewer guys out there, let me tell you that.
It's gotta be like a sad day, like if you're on a team and it's like coming back to college your junior year and you're like, oh, everybody dropped out. Like it's like nobody nobody is
Everybody's
back.
gone. It is got to be a bummer, you have friendships and then just like one day they're all gone.
It's like half the locker room. But
That's
then, like, maybe some of the dudes on the roster don't like people. So they're like, yeah, I can't wait till it's like appropriate amount of space in the
I got
facility.
space, I can breathe, I can
Yeah.
move.
Man, it's a lot like a junior year in college because that's where my mind process went was everybody's gone that I know. I can go to the cafeteria and not get bothered. All right. But a lot of talk about with the Browns here, wide receiving wise. A lot of people are concerned about the depth there. What has been your read on the quarterback's level of comfort with that group?
Yeah, I think that Jacoby Brissett has had a really good connection with Amari Cooper. And so that's really promising. And that's one of the reasons, in that last preseason game, he might not have looked his best because Amari Cooper wasn't playing. And that's the kind of connection that he's really built upon during training camp. Donovan Peoples-Jones has also had like a good connection. I would say it's not as strong as Amari Cooper's. They're probably working out some things, but nothing that would worry me that it wouldn't be possible for them to, really get on a good page together. And then Josh Dobbs is just connecting with everybody. So your QB2 is looking really good with anyone who's out there. But I know honestly, I think with Jacoby Brissett, whether it's the wide receivers out there, you're one, you're two, or the tight ends, he's made a really good connection with, David Njoku and Harrison Bryant. He was making connections with the other tight ends who didn't make the 53-man roster. So I think in terms of his connection with receivers of any caliber, I think that that's going to be something that looks okay, not something that is a big problem at the time being. And then you also have to think the guys that are playing in the slot, the running backs who will get some passes to Kareem Hunt. They've looked good together. Demetric Felton has been playing in that position, and they've made some connections. So it's not as bad as that preseason game led on. And I think that there is a lot of comfort right now with hopes to build it in the
Yeah.
future.
And you mentioned Demetric Felton. He's an interesting player because like he almost exclusively practices with the wide receivers now. How has he been looking in that transition just from what you can see at camp? Has he been looking a lot more comfortable in that role? Does he look like he's going to get factoring into the rotation with the first team?
Yeah, I think that they definitely use him in some situations. I would say he's looked kind of the same no matter where he was at. He's just kind of that guy that you can plug in and he's ready to step up in whatever role you ask him to. I think that like really his versatility lends to the Browns offense and using him in the offense and even in special teams. And so I think that he's always looked comfortable in whatever position he's at, but he has looked like he's had a good connection with the quarterbacks and catching those and his pass catching has been something that looks good. There's not been any concerns there when you're watching him out there about maybe sureness and hand placement, the ball placement on him and how he's bringing the ball down. He looks confident in that role as well as just seeming like he's fit for it. So he's looking like he could really be a big plus for the Browns as they're trying to figure out and use different offenses and throw different guys in there, plug and play kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's interesting how the Browns usually function. Because like, there's what we see in the preseason, and Kevin's a very secretive guy. And then usually once the regular season starts, we get like a bunch of different wrinkles into this offense that we weren't expecting. And the fact that we have almost barely seen Demetric Felton, even though he's consistently running with the ones, I feel like that's telling me he's probably going to have a more of an impact on this offense than people are expecting, and they're probably going to put him in more situations to get his hands on the ball, because when he did, he did a lot of good things last year. Let's kind of switch things over to the defensive side of the ball, and this is where you have to do less projecting, right? Because we're pretty sure Myles Garrett's good. We're pretty sure Denzel Ward's good. There's not a lot of questions about the top end of this roster because these are all proven players. Of the guys that's in that like second crop, right, where we're like JOK, he could have a breakout. Greg Newsome, Grant Delpit, these guys that we're kind of waiting to have that breakout year. Who have you been impressed with the most on that level?
I think it's honestly between Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and I don't know if he's on that tier or maybe down because he's a rookie, but MJ Emerson. I think those two guys through camp have looked explosive. They're showing off their speed and that versatility that they're able to do. Their awareness, I think, is incredible. They read things really well out there and make good decisions. And it's practice and it's, it's a little slower. It's not the same, but even against the Eagles when they had the joint practices, you saw them making good decisions out there and covering guys well, covering the field well, and really showing that they are staples of this defense. And so they are two guys that I would say this season are poised to have really big years and really impress people. And you mentioned Grant Delpit. Greg Newsome, I think I would put Greg Newsome in the tier of, proven. Like I think that he did that last year. Obviously we have to see this year, but I think that what he did last year did enough to put him in that category for me. Grant Delpit is one I think joins that of he looked good and he's looked really good in camp. He's had some takeaways, kind of been a ball hawk in different situations and against really good quarterbacks. So I think that he is a guy that if this can translate to the regular season, has that breakout year. And the really big thing I think about Grant Delpit is not just him having that breakout year because he's shown he's got the skill set and the athleticism to do what the Browns want him to do. It's the health. He's got to stay healthy. And it's tough for, DBs particularly to stay healthy. And, he's included in that. I think that's something that he has battled with, and he wants to be healthy. The Browns want him to be healthy. And if he can stay healthy, there's no reason why he doesn't join that tier of guys ready to make that breakout year.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing when you look at this defensive back room, right? And you go all five of the corners, there's not a bad corner in there, right? AJ Green, Greedy Williams, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, and then Martin Emerson. And then you go and they kept 5 DBs this year. And the biggest question mark, I guess you could say, is Richard LeCount, maybe DeAnthony Bell, even though DeAnthony's been very impressive in camp. What have you seen? Like, I know I've seen from the preseason, DeAnthony has made a play every preseason game of significance. Is it like that in Berea at practice? Is he showing up every day like that in practice?
Every day. I mean, I'm not kidding. If you go back a couple months, I've got videos that I posted of him picking guys off and just like swatting balls down. His coverage has been incredible and it feels like it's building every week he goes out there. I asked him today about if he built off of that momentum when he makes a play. The guys go crazy every time he does it too. So, he's got his teammates behind him just going nuts for him. And I asked him if that helped him. And he said, yeah, absolutely. I built off that momentum. And you can see that in his play. Every week he makes another play and every week he looks a little bit more impressive and I feel like he's loosening up and he's feeling more comfortable with what he's doing. And it just every week has been a playmaking week. So I think he's a guy that many people probably didn't even have him on the radar for a really long time. And then preseason comes around, you get a really good look at him. Then he starts to excite fans, and he has definitely earned that spot on the 53-man roster. Maybe a surprise if you look back a couple weeks when you were projecting the roster, who was going to make it, but certainly not in the past few weeks. If you've watched anything DeAnthony Bell has done, it's not a surprise that he has earned this spot because he has been really, really good for the Browns.
Yeah, it's to the point to where he showed so much in his ability just to find the ball and the blitz, especially like his ability to get physical from that safety position. I'm starting to wonder like, if things maybe if they don't want to put Greg as much in the slot, because I know they're going to do that. Maybe DeAnthony Bell might be a guy that they go to there because you don't have to put him in a lot of space there. He's a real good tackler, real physical guy, and he can blitz, right? And that's a lot of what you want out of a nickel DB. And I'm thinking maybe that might be where he finds a lot of snaps this year. And I think he's probably has a leg up on some of the other guys because he really just has a knack on just getting to the football and really just being physical there on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And I honestly didn't even think about it, but he does have that skill set that would find him as a good candidate there. And they have other guys who they've been plugging in the slot and rotation, but nothing that has really stood out. A lot of the guys are just mostly taking, the snaps outside, and Greg has kind of taken that over. So yeah, I mean, hey.
Yeah, it could be a role for him,
Gotta get you on the phone with
somebody.
Barry Stefanski. Tell him the plan. Tell Joe Woods.
Yeah, someone slide that one to Joe Woods the next time they get an opportunity, right? But it's interesting there when you look at it defensively. They have this much if they have the success that they want to in that back end. I think we're kind of looking at this from a roster standpoint of, the defensive line's not super strong. I don't know if we can expect Myles to have a crazy year. But I think if the back end is so strong that Myles gets an extra fraction of a second, that makes a huge difference in his totals. I know Myles Garrett is confident as all get out. And it's interesting, right? You remember rookie year Myles, he didn't even realize he had superpowers. And now he's like, I'm Myles Garrett. I can lift the building with my, he's just so confident now. And from what you've seen, it's hard to gauge it in practice because I get out, he practices much. But from what the attitude and the vibe has been around Myles, do you feel like he's aiming for that career year?
He always is. He always is. And every year I feel like he gets closer to his goals, which to me feels like last season was a really big year for him. And now the guy that kind of helped that along, Jadeveon Clowney on the other edge, coming back and being back here, I think taking that momentum from last year, keeping his goals in mind, and as he continues to somehow improve every season, I think that would 100% set him up for something that gets close to his goals. He's been pushing for Defensive Player of the Year forever. He wants it really, really bad. Really, really bad. And the franchise records are great. I know he appreciates those, and that's something he wants. NFL records. He wants the big time stuff. And that's what his goal has been for a long time. He hasn't taken his eyes off it. So the vibes are 100% that. He is confident in himself. He is looking for ways to get himself to that next step and get those goals while using his teammates around him. And you can see him talking to different guys in the rotation, a lot of guys working out after practice with him one-on-one. He is really taken a leadership role. We've seen it already, but he's really taken that with the defense. They flock to him, and he is there for them, and he's working with them. And because I think he knows in order for him to have that successful year that he wants, it's not just about him. We know what he's able to do. It's a team effort too, and at the end of the day, because you can only set yourself up for that kind of success if everybody around you is doing that for you as well. And so he has definitely been hands-on in that department, making sure that everyone is there to play super strong defense, but also, of course, to help him out to play super strong defense and reach his goals.
Yeah. I mean, he said on Top 100, he believes himself to be the best player in the National Football League. And, it's just crazy that we have somebody on the team that can say that, and it's not a ridiculous statement. You know what I mean?
You're like, you know what? You're onto something there. I think you might be right.
But speaking of the locker room kind of environment, we know that this certain quote came out about Baker Mayfield about what he said he's going to do to this team week 1. How you felt like the response has been in Berea? Has this been like a Kevin Stefanski, we're just going to talk about it on Sunday kind of deal? Or has this been kind of a motivating factor, kind of like what we saw with Juju in the 2020 playoffs?
I think it's not a surprise. Mm-hmm. And anything that Baker Mayfield were to say about his opponents at any given time, which should not be a surprise. He has always been that guy. That's him. That's his personality, and they know it. And so it's probably motivating, right? To hear somebody you're about to face week 1, somebody who very well, who just left your team, say all of those things about, I'm going to take you down without using the expletives. I think that honestly, 100% gives them motivation. Not that they're going to come out and be like, it's not the, Corvette TikTok videos being made for it. I don't think it's that deep, but I do think anytime a player comes out, it's definitely motivation. You saw it with the Bengals talking about the Browns secondary and Jamar Chase not having any worries at all. Oh, come on. Yeah. Well, they're going to use that. Absolutely well they're going to use that. So anything that Baker Mayfield says, they're going to use it, but I don't think it's something that they're going crazy about in the organization. Like, can you believe this? I can't believe he said that. Of course he said that. Yeah. Of course. What else is he going to say?
It would be more motivating. It would be more motivating if Baker had a TikTok dance, right? That they could do after they sack him or something, and then that builds off of each other. But he don't really got a dance that you can do. So it's just going to be, maybe they'll plant the flag. I don't know. Maybe that happens, but it's been a while. You know what I mean?
It's been a while, but that's the staple. That's the signature Baker Mayfield. So maybe somebody does that. I
think Nick Bosa's the only one that's ever did it to him, right? And get the revenge from Ohio State when he got him back there. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation. I mean, it kind of sucks that there's 2 weeks of people being able to build up their anticipation for this game. Which is just we know how that goes. I mean, Baker Mayfield, Cleveland Browns, week 1, there's a recipe for wild sports takes, to manifest within this time period. Any other gems on the offense do you think might catch people under the radar, especially in that wide receiving room? I know they got rid of your boy, Mike Harley.
Hey. We're still waiting for the practice squad. Okay. Right. He can make the practice squad. I think he works his way back into that.
He grinds. It's like kind of a Rashard Higgins track, right? Where he got cut and then came back. Okay,
and then comes back, and that's what it's all about. I know. So don't.
The dream is still alive.
The dream is alive. I'm not mourning it yet. There is still a chance. No, but I really do think Michael Woods is one of those guys that he made that roster today. He was out at practice. He's been dealing with that hamstring injury, but I think that was really precautionary because he looked just fine. He said he was okay. He's feeling good about it. And I would say that he's probably the standout guy that could really make an impact in that wide receiver room. He's got the size, he's got the skill set, he's got the hands. He's been making good separation. And another guy on the practice squad, hopefully, fingers crossed, that's kind of the expectation should he not be claimed. Dalen Baldwin, he's another guy that could do that kind of Rashard Higgins path. He was looking really, really good in training camp. And so having that depth of guys, maybe secret guys, that pop in when you need them to, call them up. You get to see how they're doing and how they're progressing through practices. And then if they get to that point, then you can call them up. But at this point, and you look at the wide receiver room, I don't think it's out of the question to see somebody else come in because they have Amari Cooper as the veteran wide receiver. They've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who has looked good. Every year it looks like he's going to make that leap. It's not the biggest leap yet. Haven't had that really big standout season from him. He's had very good seasons, but not that really big standout season that I think everybody sees that potential of him to have. And then it's kind of just a mosh up of guys. It's just guys that have a talent, guys that give you versatility in speed, in size, in ability, but nothing that stands out. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if there's somebody else brought in just to complement all that and really give it a boost, someone who knows what they're doing. I think that would be smart of the Browns to do. Now it just depends on how things work out and all of the GM talks and what you're willing to give up and all of that. But I do think that is an area where they could use another guy that is proven, that has that experience, even if it's not, an elite talent, just somebody who's been there, done that, and you can be confident in each week, knowing that he's there not only on the field but leading your guys too.
Well, Cam, thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking Browns with us and filling us in on what's going on. It's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season. Whether it's good or bad, it's going to be a long season.
That's like every season. That's every season.
Well, hopefully this one extends into January and we get some playoff football again here in Cleveland. Again, I want to thank Cam for showing up today. Cam, where can they find you? I mean, you're pretty findable.
At Cammy Justice on social, and then you can read all my stuff and watch videos on news5cleveland.com.
I thought she was going to hit me with, I'm on the TV, just hit 5. You know what I mean?
Turn on channel 5. Come on.
Yeah. I'm on TV. It's the old Google me. But all right, Cam, again, thank you for coming on. Appreciate you. Everybody else have a great day. Everybody else have a great day and have a good night.